Hi guys, I'm back. Okay, so my last video was creating the envelope and created the cluster to sit on top of it. So I've stitched around it on the sewing machine and I've glued it all together and it's sitting underneath the mat here just drying. So I'll get it out at the end of this video. It'll give it, you know, nearly an hour just to sit there with a bit of weight on top of it. So what I thought in the meantime is I'm going to prep these pages that I'm going to use in my journal. So the little tags themselves, I won't need those. They can just sit to one side. So let's rip these down to size and decide sort of what I'm going to do with the journal itself. And maybe prep it up a little and get it into the book at the back of the journal. I think I'm going to continue with that idea that it will go in the back of the cover using one of the signature pieces that came from the original journal. So yeah, that's going to work. I'll rip them all down. I'm pretty sure I will use all of them because there's only 5 and I want it more to be a decorative element for the journal with some normal pages in amongst it, so that if I did want to record anything, or let's say it gets used for a particular project, I've got somewhere in the back to make a few notes. So that's the plan for it. So it's just about bringing these down to a size, like, you know, at the end of the day, they are the right size to start with, but I want a torn edge on the pages, and that will then in turn get rid of the non-printed edge to these digitals. I've explained in a previous video, it was in the Edith Holden series, on how I get a digital to print double-sided. So if you're unsure of how I do that, I look for a company that has prints that are similar size, and you're pretty safe when you pick a journal page within one particular company, but you can combine, you know, prints. So you might have this on the front, but on the back you want lines. So it's easy enough to sort of look for a similar sort of print size, so to speak. And most of them are all doing the same size now. You get the odd one that might be a bit smaller, and if you're tricky with a computer, you can enlarge it to suit. But if you're not, most of them are allowing you to have that same size anyway, is what I'm trying to say, with this little edge. And then it's a case of working out how your printer works. Where does your paper go once it leaves the tray and slides through the machine, getting printed on and coming out the top of the machine? So what I do is, what I did when I first got my machine is got a blank piece of paper and I put a big X on it. So I pulled the tray out, blank piece of paper with an X on it. Then I hit print. And the paper went through the printer, come out the top of the printer, and it did like a little S. So my X was printed on. So that told me that if I wanted to print on the white side, because now my X has an image printed on top of it, I need to flip it over. Does that make sense? So that when I hit print again, the paper goes through the machine, does the S, and as it comes back through and out the top of the machine, I will have the second side printed on. So that's probably the easiest way to do it. Open your tray up, looking at your paper in the tray, with the pencil, put an X, hit print, and see where that X is. And if your X is printed on, well, you know that the print, as you pull the tray out, will appear where the X is. It might have been on the other side and the X has nothing. So then you put the paper back in the tray as it was, flip it. So now you've got the blank side, and run it through. So it just depends on how your machine drags your elements through, your paper through. Does that make sense? Clear as mud. It's just about having a experiment. And the other thing, let's say that was a human, a head here and the toes were here. So it's sitting in the tray. You could even draw a human, a stick figure. And that way, when you go to flip it in the tray, you see how I've kept the toes over here? So in my printing room, the toes are always pointed to the front of the house or to the road. So if I pick this up, go walk about, come back, and I want to print again, I know that I need the blank to the bottom and I need the toes to the road. And then I just can't get it wrong then. That way, the script will always be the right side as you look at it. Does that make sense? Clear as mud. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is just quickly whiz around the outer edge of this and just get rid of any hint of white paper showing through. This paper is quite interesting. It's nearly like fabric. It's made up of fibres. And when you break those fibres, unless ink has penetrated, you are going to see the layer of fibres underneath. See, like that white edge? So that's where these inks come in handy from Tim Holtz. I always seem to go to Vintage Photo. I started off with Tea Stain or Tea, what's it called? It's Tea Stain, I think, because I was nervous about it being so dark. But I very quickly went to Vintage Photo, and the darkness doesn't worry me now. I sort of found my tolerance for a stain colour. I don't tend to use any other colours. I don't know. I tend to find that you've got to be pretty precise with your colouring, and if it's not the right tone, let's say you want to put a pink edge on something, if it's not the right tone, really bugs me. Silly, I know, but it does. Really bugs me. So I tend to shy away from that, and I keep it generic, if you will. And Vintage Photo, I don't think you can go too wrong with it. But if it is too dark, drop down to the Tea Stain one. I don't think the second word's stain. No. Hang on, it might be here. Oh no, that's probably the second one I'd go to if I wanted some more of a black edge, and that's pumice stone. But the other one is not even out on my desk. That's how much I use it. It is slowly made its way back to live with the ones I don't touch. Okay, probably a bit of a boring video for you, but it's a necessary evil getting the pages prepped. There's only 5 of them, so it's not too bad. I don't want the journal to be too thick in the back because it just won't get used if there's too many pages to play with. And this time the pages are really just going to set the mood for some collaging of fabrics from embroideries that I do. I will do some tags, pockets, journal cards, things like that in amongst it, just so it's a little interactive. I'm pretty sure I'll use the 5. We'll prep them up anyway. I'd say I will, because they're also gorgeous. And like I said, they'll help create that theme. I'm still sure I'm going to stick to the back cover, the Tim Holtz scrapbook page. I don't think I'm going to stitch it in the centre, but we'll see. I'll get it made, the journal component. Then we'll go back to the cover and sort of see if it feels right on the back, or it does go into the spine with pages in between. Goodness knows, I could even keep it separate. Like, I have been known to change my mind and go in a completely different direction. But anyway, that's the fun of it, isn't it? Okay, so those pages now are all inked, looking good. I will also take them to the sewing machine and probably do a decorative stitch around it as well. So now I'm just going to find the fold. Which seems to be, there's a bit of white paper showing through there. Let's get rid of that while we see it, deal with it. A journal style that I have not made yet and I'm dying to try is a Midori style. You know, where you put the rivets into the spine and then you can slide papers in and out. That's what I'm yet to try. And I've got the crocodile thing, crocodile or whatever it's called, that allows you to put rivets in. So it's not like I can't do it. I just haven't had the chance to do it. And I like the idea because you can manipulate your pages a little bit. Once you stitch things into a signature, you're bound, aren't you? Okay. Now we might just, while we're doing the pages, let's grab some paper. Tear it down a little too. And prep some pages in between. Whoops. Need to apply a little bit more pressure to my ruler. Now let's pick our first one. What's going to be the first one we'll see as we open the book? Oh, that one. So we might do a flip out page. I should probably check the size of my piece that's gonna encase them all to make sure my width isn't creeping out. I must not go any more than that. So these will go in here like that. Let's put another one in. And I'm gonna alter them in height. Because my element to wrap them, my Tim Holtz paper, is so tall and these papers just aren't that big, I'm going to stagger them up and down so that they will fill the space comfortably. Now the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be very strong. I'm going to go to my pile of hoarded Italian papers that I've purchased from Rachel over the years. I think I've bought 3 packs at different stages, and I'm going to pull out some paper and add it to this journal because I've got to use it, like, for goodness sakes, I've got to use it. So there's another one done, and I've just put a decorative one in the center of it. So let's tear down this one as well. So yeah, shock horror, I'm going to go to my stash and I'm going to select minimum 3 pieces, I've decided. And they are going to go into this journal. And you know, it'll be nice to flip through this in the future. It should be full of embroidery that I've created, loosely connected to a theme of fabric swatches from the way back when theme, you know. So I think it'll be a nice spot to pop them, and it'll be a little bit interesting to have them, you know, there. So I'm going to be strong and stop hoarding stuff. Oh, isn't that pretty? I'm going to turn that way. I want to see that when I open that. That goes there. Then another one. Lovely. And I need another page. And that should be the last one I need. In the journal. Okay. I was going to work on William Morris next in my video series, but got sidetracked. Got sidetracked with this idea. And I think it's because the journal was sitting in my cupboard. This is how it happened, actually. I went to my cupboard to get out a book cover suitable for a William Morris journal series, which was the plan. Straight after Edith Holden was going to be William Morris. He's still coming. And then in the process, the bits and pieces for this broken down journal fell out of the cupboard. Literally fell out of the cupboard. And I've been looking at them for probably 12 months, maybe even longer, thinking, oh, what a shame. I paid all that money for that journal and it is broken down on me. But I will renovate it. I will do something to it. But, you know, when you buy something and it's not buyer's remorse, probably a little bit of buyer's remorse. It was very early on the stage and I needed something to hold ephemera and yada, yada, yada. So I made this purchase. It was probably impulsive. It cost me a fortune. And then only to have the piece break down on me. So anyway, and I'll admit, it's probably because I'm heavy-handed. But I tend to think the glue's failed a little bit. But that's all right. That's what happens. Until you sort of understand glues and things like that. That can happen to the best of us. So that's okay. We're junk journalers. We're embroiderers. We're a bit of everything. We can fix it. So this thing fell out. Whoops. No, that's going to go in the center. Yep. And then that one will go there. But staggered heights, because that's just what you got to do. So yeah, it's dropped out on the carpet at my toes, and I thought, oh, you again, that bloomin' journal, blah, 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 blah. And all those thoughts come flooding into my head, and I'm like, right, that's it. I have to deal with you. And I was actually going to dedicate the month of, what are we, August, September, October. I think it was October. I was going to dedicate the month of October to unfinished projects and just deal with them so that I could go into November focusing just on Christmas and then into December as well with more Christmas. So it gave me a good 2 months to play with Santa and multitude of ideas I have for that. It's crazy what's coming through my head for that. But anyway, October was a month to just stop for a moment and fix up some unfinished projects or undone journals, or, you know, I've got a box over in the corner there that is Roxy Creations, 100% dedicated to Rachel's videos. So whenever she makes a video, and I might be working on a particular project, but for some reason I watch her video and I jump up and immediately start playing with kits or elements that I've been working with for that's Rachel orientated. Can't help myself. She just gets me going sometimes. And so, yeah, I wanted to use October to do a bit of that type of stuff because the box is just growing and growing, and I don't think I've finished anything in there. Like, there's at least 4 or 5 journal covers alone. So plenty of work could be done just there. Anyway, this fell out. So hence I thought, bugger it, just get it done. So I've got William sitting to one side, and I will get to William because I love William Morris designs, and I've been reading up on him, and oh, what a smart cookie he was. Really, really talented. I was trying to understand how he created the prints, because a lot of his designs back in the day went into wallpapers and things. So he had a printing house in London, and pretty much created wallpapers to adorn the manor houses of England, and oh gosh, it even drifted over to America, like as people started to realize what he was about. But he was also a poet. He was also a novelist. He was a sculptor. Like, the guy, seriously, was a talented, talented man. So to do a series on him and make a journal or 2 or 3. The other thing I'd picked up at a fabric store at Harvey Bay was a pack of the William Morris fabrics, which are just beautiful. So I've got that sitting there. I've got, I haven't got a cover yet worked out. I might make something out of the fabrics, but I'm not sure yet. And I've also got a couple kits. Now, if you did want to do a William Morris journal, if you just type into Etsy William Morris digital prints, there are so many. So many. Obviously, his designs now are in the public domain or through, you know, Graphics Fairy or something. So all of the designers out there have been playing with them, and oh, there's so much. I can't recall off the top of my head which one I end up choosing, but I've had it for a little while, and I've even made up some of the journal cards and tags, and, you know, just created a bit of prep work in anticipation of a journal. I might do that one there so that flips out completely. Oops, I lost my page. There it is. Yeah, I like that. And then the last one. Okay, lovely. So that will be in here. Now, it does have a series of holes already in it from the previous construction, but to me they are actually a bit too far apart, so they're barely going to catch my papers. They actually need to come in a little bit to be a little bit more secure, so I need to deal with that. And what I might do is find some really thin fabric, because I don't want to bulk it up too much. I could use this, but I might go looking for something a little bit thinner, like a handkerchief fabric that's quite old and thin, and then put a piece through here just to reinforce it. That'll get rid of these 2 holes. Reinforce that a little bit, because I'd hate to think that was getting a bit weak. So be a thin fabric go through there, and then I'll probably just find something decorative to go down this outer edge anyway. And then those pages will be stitched into this signature, and that will then sit in the back of my journal. That will be glued into there, like so. So I'll have a little journal in the back of this needle book. And then here will be some fabric stitched in, ready for future embroidery. So that's sort of the plan. My little itty bitty birdies will go in there, plus any other scraps like bits of these. So at least if I say race out the door to go on holidays, some of the elements I've used will be, you know, sort of in here ready. So it's sort of like pre-packing a project. Okay, so I'm liking that. That's not too thick. It is getting thick, mind you, but I think it'll be all right. I can always score an extra line, which I might end up doing, is I might come through. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Just encourage it to fold a little wider. If it does, use it, it does. If it doesn't really matter. But at least there's a score line there ready for the journal to sort of slide into. So I'm just going to come through on the edge there. And just put an extra little line in there. It's like allowing that spine to go, oh, okay, you're getting quite thick and chunky, because once you start adding fabrics into, you'd be surprised just how quick. So that's just broken all those fibers there. So now that potentially has got a 1/4 inch spine, which will be good. Might as well do it now before it's too late and it's stitched in and you don't have that wriggle room. So if that squishes down, you've got quite a thick little spine there, like so. That's great. Need a little bit of glue there. That's not quite adhered, so we might as well do that. Okay, so that's my pages sorted. Now I just need to make a few little elements that can slide in with it so that they're on hand, ready to use. So let's just put that aside, put that away. And let's have a look at these tags. So we've got a series of tags and envelopes and bits and pieces. So we definitely want to use that. Love those. I don't think I'm going to use the pockets because I really like that. And I'm not going to use those. I don't think, but we might use those. We might use those. Potentially those. The buttons just need to be cut down. They're cute. You might use those. And we've got the envelope, which, yeah, I don't think I need the envelope. So I'm just going to put them to one side. Actually, there was one on top there I liked. Let's get him back. Oh, heaps. Heaps, heaps, heaps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these onto backing paper. And this is how I do it. The first thing I do is trim off some excess paper. Whipping around the outer edge of the digital print so that I've still got space to glue on, but I've just reduced the size of my page. Now I've done this before in the Edith video, but if you have just joined me, this is how I prep journal cards and ephemera elements ready for journal making. It's a little bit of a procedure, but I tend to do it the same way every time. And that way I know that it's correct. So once again, just whip around the outer edge. Those pages that I won't use, my little routine is I grab a plastic envelope. You get 5 of them from our Woolworths here in Australia for a couple dollars. They're like an A4 plastic envelope. I'm positive they're packs of 5, and I will slide the unused pages into that envelope with the details, which luckily are printed on here. Fabric swatch, even the name of the kit. Thank you, Tracy. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. To all of the designers out there, please, please put your company details on the pages somewhere. I know it's hard with journal pages, But even if it was a watermark or something, I don't know. Just something so that when we come to use them in the future, we know where they've come from. I've got a pretty good filing system within my computer, but it can get out of hand real quick. So the next stage is I've got my Parisian Essence dyed paper. I don't use coffee. I don't use tea. Tea I find too hard to get a nice colouring. And I don't drink tea, so I don't really have it on hand anyway. Coffee's great. Does a beautiful job. You can quickly control the colour, but the smell can annoy people. So I've just got into the habit of not using it, because at least then if I do sell a journal to someone, I know that the coffee's not an issue there. So I use Parisian Essence. I have a video linked in the description to show my process. And if you don't know what Parisian Essence is, it's a colouring made by a company called Queen or Queens. It's been around a long time. They also make vanilla essence. They make food colourings. And you use it to darken gravy or a stew. So it's part of the food essence category for that company. So you saw what I did there. I should have explained myself. I will on the next one. I've got a real routine. Now under my mat here, I've got my envelope. So I'm going to actually pull it out. It should be dry, and then I can start sliding in these pages to sit nice and flat. So I've got ink on my hand, so I don't want to get too crazy here. So here's my little envelope. That's looking really good now. So it's got the paper in the inside, and we've covered it on the outside. And I've also gone around with the sewing machine and added a decorative stitch. So that now is ready. It's nearly dry, ready to go into the cover of the journal, and a pocket can go. It'd be created as a pocket as well. So that little piece is ready. So by trimming off the excess paper from around your print, it allows you to have it smaller than your backing page. And that really is for gluing purposes. You're not making a mess of your mat. And it allows you to sneak right up to the edge of that page with around the outer edge line of glue. So that's the first move. And then I come back through and just evenly go over the whole piece of paper. And that is not enough glue. I do it a second time, because you want this to really glue down. And being that I purchase a glue that has a blue element, when it dries it's clear, I can easily see where I have been, where I haven't. I get this glue from Officeworks. I get it from Woolworths. It's a pretty common brand, Study Mate. Get rid of that lump that's in the center there. Now, using my fingers, I pick it up in opposite corners. So I've got control over the page. I just then flip it with a little extra tension on those corners. I can lay down this corner, work my way to that corner, and then go out in a star. Then I grab my burnishing tool and just run over the front and the back. That helps the fibres in both of the papers to lay straight. You then can come back through and do another rough cut. You don't have to, but sometimes I tend to as well, because that in itself, especially if you can catch the edge of some of the elements, like this tag now, by cutting that, I am forcing those two pages together as well. So you're getting a little extra pressure on a point that can drift apart. That's how I prep any elements like a tag, a journal card. So it's sort of been cut again. Now it needs to dry. And it needs a day to dry. It really does. Unless you've got a sunny somewhere sunny that you can pop the piece on the ground in front of a sunny window. It's heat is what you're chasing. If you can get a little bit of heat onto that paper so when you pick it up it feels warm to touch, well then you'll know your glue is adhered. There's nothing worse than feeling those bubbles where your paper hasn't gripped. Just feels, yeah, really bodgy, I think. And this is the only way I've come up with that helps it to become one. And so far it's working, because tags and journal cards, they're slid in and out of pockets and people look at them and you write on them and you decorate them and they shimmy around your craft table. They need to be glued properly because it doesn't take much for you to break that seal. And the other thing too, your hands are not enough, I don't think. I just don't think I get enough even pressure and squish the glue. That's why a tool like this is good, or a business card. Just really helps with the glue squishing in there and getting in amongst those fibres. So I'm just going to do another rough cut. This too, also, the other reason I do this extra cut is, let's say I've got a bit of that glue oozing out, which I do there. There's a little bit there. That just protects my mat underneath or the papers underneath from sitting on a bit of glue. So when you pull them all out, you'll find that 2 of your pages have actually glued together, and then you've got a little mess. It's easy enough to fix it, but and before this goes underneath, see how it's curling up? I'll flip it over and just encourage the fibres of that paper just to go back out. So let's just put it, it's a real procedure. I didn't cut that first one, so I'm going to get it back out and give it a quick cut. It is a real little procedure, but if you just dedicate an hour to doing this, and then everything is prepped, it's ready to go. And makes it a lot more enjoyable. Love it. These are going to be so pretty to play with, especially when I start laying fabrics on them. Okay, a little bit of white on the bottom of that tag. I see it. Let's snip it and deal with it while I'm looking at it. And under you go. See, I can feel that that's quite cool to touch, so it's still very wet. It's not a warm day here in Brisbane today either. It's overcast and drizzly, and so it's not a good gluing day by all means, but I think if I pop them under there and let them sit for the day, I'm sure I can find something else to go on to with the next episode. So I don't think I'll be touching these elements when we tune in again together, which will be, you know, within the hour of finishing this one. I'll start again. So I might work on maybe preparing the fabric that will go into the center of the journal. I think that's something I could do. Okay. Lovely. Going quiet and concentrating, trying to cut a straight line. You see the paper is curling. But at least now I know that any glue residue that may have come out is gone. So these papers now can sort of sit on each other. There's a little bit that's come from my fingers. Okay. My puppy dogs are awfully quiet this morning. Usually they're running around being crazy. Must be because it's drizzly rain. They did come to the window probably about an hour ago and look in at me, and oh, they looked messy. Not too bad, just damp, and because it hasn't had enough rain to have the water laying everywhere. Once that happens, I'm guessing by tomorrow there'll be water puddles everywhere. That bandit. We know what's going to happen, don't we? So they must be back in bed. How to be a puppy dog at the McEwen Manor. Back into bed. Guess I've only got one page to go. I hope that wasn't too boring for you. At least they're prepped now. So I've got my journal pages ready. I'm just going through it in my brain. Journal pages are torn, inked and ready, pretty much ready to stitch in. I do need to find some finer fabric to reinforce that center of the journal. I also need to find a lace to go on the edge of the internal cover, because there's that glue residue that was left behind after I stripped the book down, so I want to make that disappear. I don't think I'll need all of these tags and stuff by all means, but they'll be prepped anyway, and they can sit in my ephemera box of bits and pieces left from projects. And it's quite surprising how many of those pieces end up in other projects, because I don't know, I tend to pick similar designers. So Tracy's artwork blends really well with Rachel from Roxy Creations artwork. It also blends well with My Porch Prints, which I use a lot of their artwork. And it's got that vintagey feel, so it does work well. So I've just got a couple little containers that sit beside me, and they just have leftovers, I guess. And sometimes I look at it and go, well, there's literally a journal or two of ephemera there ready to go, which is just lovely. So what I might do is when I'm finished doing this little task and I turn the camera off, I might actually glue those remaining pages as well, and then they're done. And then if I did pick them up in the future, I've got something, you know, ready to use. There's another kit of Tracy's on her page that I've been looking at for probably 12 months, but I haven't bought it yet because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, and I think I'm just caught up in the look of it. But it's a little houses in a row, and I think she did make a little journal out of it where it all folded out. I just think that is the cutest thing. So what am I going to do with these remaining pages? So that's maybe I just glue. Oh, what the hung. Use a punch can be used after printing. Okay. Okay, so a 2-inch punch will get that out, a 1-inch punch will get that out, and a 1/2-inch punch will get those out. So if I back them with paper, they will punch better. Oh, look, there's only a few pages left. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to just carry on here. It's nearly like they're unfinished, so it's bugging me. Isn't that silly? And like I said, what I don't use will just go into my tray. There's a few minutes left, so I should be able to finish it. It's not enough time to probably start the next thing, which I'm thinking might be get the fabric ready for not only reinforcing the spine of that booklet in the back, the little mini journal in the back of the sewing / journal swatch, but also getting my calico pages torn and ready. So ripping them down to size, ironing a crease into them, so that gives me a bit of a guide to stitching them in. Oh, run out of glue. I need another glue stick. Hang on, guys. I just need to jump up and grab one. Oh, it's one without the blue in it. Well, I don't know. I've got this pack that the blue is just not there as strong as it should be. And I think it's a fault because it says on the side of the packaging that it exists and it is meant to be a blue glue stick. So, I don't know. It's barely blue. Let's face it, it's not blue. And the only way I can see if I've covered everything is the shimmer of the glue, and that's just too hard. I don't like it being that difficult. Okay, that's another one done. So it must have been about 10 pages of journal elements, the journal pages in Tracy's kit. Then it looks like there's probably about the same in the ephemera. And then 2 pages for the labels. Oops, trim it down. You can see why when you don't trim it down just a little bit, it'd be very hard to make sure you get the glue right to the edge of all these tags, especially these ones. They are huge. And now I have a glue stick that is not blue, so I need to keep my wits about me and try and methodically do it. Yeah, I can see a shimmer, but it's not easy. So if you have used glue sticks and you gave up on them because they weren't adhering properly, I'm going to say that it's probably because you didn't have enough glue. And as you can see, I go over it twice. And if it was clear, good luck trying to make it actually do what you want it to do. So I would say to you, have another go at the glue stick theory, but purchase some that have the blue in them. So at least you can see if you've got enough glue, because you might find that it actually did a great job. But yeah, sort of gave up on it because the application of it was really hard for this style of working. If you were just putting, you know, a picture in a journal, well, that's fine. The clear ones is more than enough. But if you're wanting to adhere 2 pages together, like backing, like I'm doing, you need to know that your glue has covered the entire surface, and not once but twice. So keep your eye open at your stationery store. I'm not sure what they are in the States. I've heard the word Staples as being a pretty big brand out there, so I'm not sure if that's America or the UK, but here it's Officeworks and Woolworths for Study Mate. I find it really good at what it's meant to do. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use all these elements. Oops. What I might... no, I'm not going to do that. I just had a thought. I'll tell you what the thought is. There was a discussion on the Roxy Creations group and Rachel's video about creating... I've nearly used all that. Creating too much bulk by having pages that you can stitch your needlework to in your journal. And in one way to reduce it, which I think Rhonda Winstead come up with, was to make those pages that you put into the spine actually maybe only 2 or 3 inches. And I haven't tried that yet. So I was just thinking I might. But I can't decide. And I think it's because when I do a piece of needlework, I don't know what size it's going to end up being, and if there'll be lace around it, or, you know, I sort of like the freedom of not really having a size to work within. So it gets stitched in on the calico page when it's done, and then I come back, you know, a week later and do another one. It might even be smaller. It may not be the same as the previous. So using the theory of a small piece of calico in the spine, then I have to make every piece of embroidery the same size, which I find quite difficult. So I don't think I will do a small fabric-y spine pages. I'm going to leave them because I can always back them onto paper as needed, like labels. And I think having them a bit thinner, they can slide into my ephemera little, you know, folders, like these little guys. And they're not too bulky. And I can always quickly back some of them if I want to use them. So I'm going to leave them like the labels. And I think I'm going to do the same with these little swatches. I don't think I'm going to back them because I think they'll just go on the page, you know, as needed, as decorating elements. So this can be glued. And my glue has run out. It mustn't have been a full one. Hang on a minute. Back. Here's another one. That must have been a reject because it wasn't blue. Let's hope this one is. Yes. So we'll do this one. So yeah, like I was saying, I think I will rip down my calico to the size that it needs to be. It can be like, you know, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch smaller. That doesn't really matter, but at least it's a sizing that is a little bit more universal for me. And that way, if I do a small piece, it can nestle in on that page and it'll have a nice background of the calico. And then when you turn over the page, the bigger piece that may have been done the week before is fine as well, because it's sitting nicely on the calico. You're probably wondering, what the hang is she talking about? Just glue this next piece. See how there's glue messy there? This is where that trimming it down gets rid of trouble, because if that went in under my board here and leant against the previous ones, I'd have a gluing mess. So it's just a way of keeping it nice and clean. Law and order, I say. The other thing I will do is I will dig out my stash of Rachel papers, and I'm going to delve into them, and I'm going to pick something out to go in amongst my pages. How's that? How's that for brave words? Them are fighting words. Little butterfly, you can go into my journal. I might detach. No, I won't detach that. I'll trim. This is the last one, so I do apologise for a boring video, but I guess if you're new, you've just seen how I prep pages, and it's all part of the process, isn't it? It's all some of the mundane tasks we need to do, but once they're done, you can sort of move on to the next stage, confident that your pieces are not going to fail on you or for someone. I often do ephemera packs for Christmas and pop them in my Etsy store. I'm not sure if I'll do that this year. I've done it for 3-4 years in a row, and there is hours and hours of this because I like to back all the pieces and do a little decorating on them all so that they're, you know, but not crazy. I don't like to do too much because you sort of don't know what the person's journal is going to be like. So I try and refrain myself, which is not easy. And then I create like a little piece that they can slide into. But that's pre-YouTube. That's pre my channel when I was making things and just needed to get rid of them. So what I might do this year is I'll show you the pieces that I used to make and sell. And you can go and make them yourself. Sounds good to me. And you can sit there for hours prepping elements. Probably going overboard chopping this. I won't grab the calico and show you what I was talking about a few minutes ago. I will wait to the next video because I've got sticky fingers here. And I need to just finish one task at a time. You know how it goes. Flip-flop everywhere. Okay. You'll notice in my description below, I've added quite a few other bits and pieces to it now. So hopefully everything I mention is in there. If there's anything I mention that's not, just give me a hoy in the comments because I tend to ramble. So it's quite likely I've forgotten what I was talking about. They're nice big generous pockets. They will be fun. I just need to back these tickets. Might as well. They could just go into my little ephemera. But I think I'll make sure they're in the journal so they get used whenever. And maybe that pocket in the front can hold them. How are we going for time? Oh, okay, coming up to the hour. Not a problem. So there you go. I end up finishing the task. There's only 2 pages that I didn't do this to, and that's purely reasons of bulk, and that they can be slid into a little ephemera booklet. and be ready to use. Maybe I should make another one because these are full. I really like these little guys. They're sort of, you know, I can theme them. A little flower one, and they're good if I go away somewhere. I can pick it up. So the bunnies, maybe yeah, there you go. So all of these elements can go in with the bunnies. I think I might slide the bunnies out completely. Yeah, I'm going to take the bunnies out. Where were they? I'm going to take the bunnies out completely, pop them back into the big journal, and then I really need to create a booklet that has labels in it. I've got flowers, I've got butterflies, I've got some random old images. This one here, I'm thinking I'm going to make it labels because I've got a little container full of them here as well, little Tracy labels. So that's another little job. I'll do that next, I think. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off for now, and when I come back, this will be organised, and I will tear down the calico to go into the centre of our journal. And by then too, the pieces that are under my mat will be dry, ready to play with. Okay, everyone, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.